Lest we forget, a Trudeau legacy. I came across an article by Tom Woods, author of the Pig series, Politically Incorrect Guide of Books. It bears mentioning and, most importantly, remembering. And while Mr. Woods writes about the situation in the United States, he might just as well be referring to Canada. In fact, in many ways, we've been much worse up here in the Gulag, formerly known as the Great White North, than our neighbors to the south. I'll quote from Tom Woods directly. Over 3 years of the 15-day thing, we can hope that this means international travelers to the United States will soon no longer be required to subject themselves to the ridiculous vaccine requirement that the vast majority of countries have long since abandoned. Given everything that even official sources now concede about the shots, there's no rationale for keeping that restriction in place. As I look back over the past few years, I'm left flabbergasted at the wreckage. I won't catalog it all because you know it well enough, but just for starters, people had their lives' work destroyed, their savings decimated, their health compromised, their businesses ruined. And that's not to mention the far more devastating consequences for the developing world. Just the other day, I had a mother write to me. Her daughter can't proceed with her chosen profession because the only school for it that she can afford is still, for some reason, demanding the shots. Then, too, you and I observed with our own eyes how readily our neighbors and countrymen instantly adopted the official line, displaying no curiosity at all, and not even bothering to see if any of the social destruction was actually doing any good. Beyond that, families and friends were torn apart and dissidents demonized and isolated. And of course, a central point I think we all grasp but rarely saw illustrated is what governments can get away with under cover of emergency. Call something an emergency or a crisis, and all thought goes out the window on the part of the public, a situation officials are all too happy to exploit. Tom Woods. The parallels to the way good Germans behaved in the grim, dark days of World War II are not so hard to imagine today when one stops to consider just how readily the sheeple submitted to government overreach. How far away from concentration camps were we, with Trudeau proclaiming at one point that those who refused to take the shot were, in addition to being racist and misogynistic, taking up space. Let that sink in for a moment. People went willingly to quarantine hotels, stopped all travel, stayed away from churches, family, and friends. All that was missing was the yellow star. How far away were we from that? Vaccine passports, maybe? And worse to think about is, how possible is it for our once civil society to return to these authoritarian and discriminatory ways? How quickly we embraced them. With each new scandal and abuse of our charter rights on the part of the Trudeau-Singh coalition, it is despairing, to say the least, to watch our democracy give way to soft dictatorship. One day, those responsible for this societal devastation will be held to account. Many of them will no longer hold positions of authority, or will be long gone by the time that day arrives. But arrive it must. We must never allow this to happen again. Always remember, lest we forget.